So unusually for this class, standing start, only need a block as a prop, so not too much to work with. And we'll just take the legs out a little bit if you've been sitting, but then once you're ready, we're going to see if we can take the hands together and just get some wrist rolling going on. So gradually bringing the forearms together. And it doesn't matter whether you do this quickly or slowly, as long as it feels like it's beneficial, getting some looseness into the wrist. A little like last week, quite a lot of side planking to play with, so the wrists are going to take a little bit of a workload this evening. We want to make sure that they're nicely warmed up, and likewise we'd like to do the shoulders as well, so we'll just bring the fingertips onto the collarbones for some angel wings. Elbows together again. On the inhale, we'll take them up as high as we can and as far back as possible. We'll let the hands drift around a little bit. Chest extends up towards the sky, and then the elbows drop back. Try and pin them together behind you before you bring the chin across the chest. And inhaling up. So if possible, an inhale and an exhale. Do one rotation. And just noticing whether there's any tightness, soreness from previous sessions, maybe at the gym, things like that, or if you've been stuck in one position for a long time all day. We'll take the rotations around the opposite way and see if the shoulders feel as comfortable going in the opposite direction. And then we're just going to let the arms swoop out to the side, and we'll take a surface stretch. So I'm going to bring the right arm across, left arm, drawing the shoulder and chest around a little bit on the axis of my spine. And then release the arms out. Rock over the opposite way. And then we're just going to take the arms slowly out to the side and up to the sky on the inhale. So just seeing if you can bring your hands together above your head. I know you can't see that on the screen, but believe me, I did. And then back towards your hips. Inhaling up. And then we can relax those out. We'll come into the very front of the mat. We'll take some forward bend and some ragdolls. We'll take a long breath in, soften the knees, hinge forward, so we keep the belly drawn in. We'll let ourselves fold down, hands to the floor. And then we bring the hands onto the shins, lifting up halfway. Exhale down. We'll bend the knees a lot, so we get the ribs on the thighs, the head to hang nice and loose. And then we'll drive out on an exhale, keeping the tummy drawn in, so rounded back, shoulders held down and the head low. And then we can put the arms up towards the sky on the inhale. Hands above the head again, bring the hands into the heart. Hinge at the hips. Let those come down. Fingertips on the floor, we bow in. We bring the hands onto the shins to lift up. Exhale it out, down. Soften the knees deliberately, sink in with a rounded spine, get it nice and loose, and then roll it back up slowly. Put hands up again. We're going to take a couple more of these. So a little adjustment, bending in the knees, take the weight to the toes, and then we can take it into the heels as we come lower. Sinking down into the, almost like somewhere between a squat and a not squat. Inhaling up to the heart. Exhaling down. And to the chin. Hold it down deep. Soften into the knees. Drive it out. Get a nice little bit of roundness in that low spine. Pick the hands up high again. This time we're going to come to the floor. Step it back into a plank. So easing your way down. Hands on the ground. Just step in one leg. 2 legs back. We'll drop the knees to the floor where they come. So they're not underneath the hips. They're further back than that. I'm going to cross the ankles and just take the toes away from the floor so they're a little lifted. Make sure your shoulders are over your wrists. Keep the tummy muscles drawn in, the bottom high. You're going to bend the elbows back and let yourself come down to the floor with your nose. And then press your way back up. We'll come all the way down again. And press our way back up. We'll come down again. And press, keeping the shoulders and elbows back. We're keeping a nice tight shoulder girdle. Last time to come up. See if we get both arms to feel like they're doing the same amount of weight. Untuck the toes, sit back onto the heels for a moment, let the knees lift into down dog. Just take a little walk out here for a moment. Just really saying hello to your down dog, easing the hips back, feet towards the ground, but not necessarily touching. We'll let genetics decide a little bit more about that perhaps. Try and press the shoulders back a little bit so the chest feels like it's getting lower to the ground. So if it goes up the shoulder joint. Press the heels out towards the back of the mat so we can stretch out the hamstrings and the calf nicely. Roll the armpits slightly in towards the face, keeping the hands flat to the floor. We'll take a last breath in and let ourselves float in to a plank. We'll take a little breath and let ourselves lift back up. The down dog, I'm going to swing or scissor right leg to the sky. We'll come into a 3-legged plank, coming across. We'll go back into that down dog shape, 3-legged version. We'll come forwards again, pressing back. We'll come forwards again, and pressing back. And then we can scissor the leg back down to the floor, take the other foot to the sky. Again, we try to keep the hips and shoulders nice and square to the ground. We come forward, bringing the shoulders gently over the wrist, popping back on the exhale, stretching out through that leg, so it's going to feel like it's lifting a little more. Coming forwards again, stepping back. One more time, coming in. And pressing back. And we'll scissor the foot to the floor. We'll walk the hands towards the toes, so coming into the back of the mat, into a forward bend. Couple of breaths here. And then as we've done before, soften the knees, let the ribs sit into that squat, it hangs low, and then ragdoll out, driving through the legs evenly. Keep the arms up towards the sky on the inhale. We'll bring the hands into the heart. Let ourselves walk into the front of the mat. Just take it out gently. Put the arms wide again. Hands into the heart, we'll come to the floor. Step back into down dog. And then forward into plank. Going to drop to the knees. Child's pose. Just sitting back gently. Keeping the arms out nice and straight. Palms on the ground. Head to the floor. Final breath. And then press into the chin. We're lifting up again. Make sure your knees are right underneath your hips. Make any adjustments you need. Take a little breath. Now we're going to walk the hands out into melting heart. We're going to keep the tummy muscles drawn in. We'll press the chins into the floor. We'll walk the chest out and get a nice line between the hands, the elbows, the shoulders, the hips. Head in line, so your ears are more or less in line with your arms. You can have a little head sway to one side. Just make sure your ears are close to your arms. So we're not trying to let ourselves sink down completely. We're actually pressing away from the floor. So it's a bit like you're trying to do a plank with your arms stretched out, pressing down. You can feel your core muscles, your back and your shoulders all firing up. And press into the chins, get the legs invoked as well. A lot of energy, considering we're going absolutely nowhere. Take a last little breath, and then just walk the hands back in, so we can press the heels back, down into the buttocks, into child's pose. We'll just walk the hands in a little bit, so we come up about 45 degrees. You're going to take the knees out wide, take a breath, and then slide the left hand out under and out towards the right side, so I can drop the ear and the shoulder to the floor. I'm going to swoop that right arm around and see if I can get my fingers to touch onto the thigh and this left leg, drawing my top shoulder over and towards the opposite side of the mat, away from my face. And taking the hand back up to the sky on the inhale, out towards the front of the mat. You're going to press away to lift gently. Get that 45-degree angle. So right arm goes up to the left, drop the ear down to the center line. Shoulder on the floor. Arm up on the inhale. Going to rotate through that shoulder a little bit. See if I can bring the hand round. Put the fingers towards that front thigh. Rolling that top shoulder back. I'll scoop the arm back out and up, out towards the front of the mat. Press into the floor, lifting up gently, just walking the hands in a little bit. Going to come up onto all fours and into plank. So just taking the knees gently away from the ground. Have the feet a nice wide distance apart. Use as much of the mat as you can. Because we're going to take some little hand taps here onto the shoulder. So when we take a breath in, and on the exhale, we'll take the right hand to the left shoulder, bring it back down. We'll cross over to the opposite side. And we try not to move around too much from the center line. So that's where the tricky bit comes in. As you sway across, you press out through the opposite leg to the arm that's lifting, and that kind of brings you back to the center. And we try not to get a feeling of panicking too much as we move around. We'll keep the feet on the floor. Hopefully that can give some abdominal muscles firing up, keeping yourself pushing away from the ground. Ooh. Almost there. Last one. And then we'll lift the hips up into down dog. Whew. Just bring the feet back in again. Walking the hands towards the toes. Exhaling into the fold. Bring hands over the hips this time. Soft knees and a flat back to lift on the exhale. And then stepping into the front of the mat to take it out a little. Through the arms high on the inhale. And through the heart, exhaling down to the floor, soften the knees. Stepping back into down dog. We'll come forwards into plank. I'm going to take half plank, so bring the elbows in. Release the hips, up dog on the breath in. And use the exhale to lift the hips high into that down dog. We'll take a little breath and scissor the right leg to the sky. Roll the knee into the chest and bring the foot through between the hands for a lunge shape. Take a breath and push off the rear toes into a forward bend. Hands over the hips, soft knees and a flat back, lift up. We'll inhale high again. Hands through the heart. Exhaling down. Stepping back into a down dog. Let's take a little breath. And forwards into plank. Half plank. Related change. Up dog on the breath in. Lift up through the core. Down dog. This time we'll scissor the left leg high. We'll take that into the scissor. For the lunge. We come into the front of the mat, standing, folding, bend. Make sure the feet are parallel. Align to each other as you come up. Put the arms up high. Let them touch palm to palm, and then take the hands out in front of the chest. We'll soften the knees over the toes. Sit back into a chair. Take a little breath. I'm going to take the left hand around all the way to the back of the mat, keeping the knees and the hips pointing forwards, but turning the trunk, looking towards the rear hand. I'm going to take it back again, out towards the front of the mat. I'm going to take the right hand out and around, just watching the fingers. So getting towards the center line back here, coming across, going out to the left again, coming through, to the right, and back. And then we're just going to straighten the legs. We'll take that into a little back bend, so fingertips just loosely interlaced. Pressing the hips back a little bit. Press the feet into the floor. And then coming back up, hands into the heart. And exhaling down to the floor. Whew. I'm going to step back. As if I'm going to take down dog, but I'm just going to use that transition, knees to the floor. Step the feet out to the side. And then let myself roll down gently. Now you want to make sure you've got plenty of room behind, because we're going to take alternate legs and arms. So little adjustments to get the waistbands out of the spine. Walking the feet in gently. I'm going to bring the knees up above the hips, and then extend your toes up towards the sky. So that's a start and finish place. Head is on the ground. So take hands up towards the sky, just above the chest, palms facing in, and then trying to keep the legs straight. I'm going to scissor on the exhale my right leg and left arm down towards the floor without bumping in. Coming back up slowly, keeping the spine pinned to the floor, so drawing the tummy muscles down actively. Cross over to the opposite side. Now trying to get the arm and the leg follow each other through the sort of same angle. So if you imagine for every degree your leg moves, your arm moves as well. So in theory, they get almost to the floor at the same time. You stretch out through the fingertips and the toes. You come back up in the equally slowly balanced version. Go across to the opposite side. Coming back up. So we are making an effort to keep the toes over the hips, so they don't move around. So every now and again, you have to sort of kind of reposition yourself. If for me, maybe you are able to keep a little more precision. I find this quite challenging. Not so much keeping the legs and the arms that are moving that's difficult. It's the hand in leg and the hand in arm that I find tricky. I have to focus on those at least as much as I do my arms and the legs that are moving. Come up for the last one. Ooh. And then just draw the knees in towards the chest. So we wrap the arms around the chin. Couple of breaths here. Now we're going to try and keep the chin where it is already. So we draw the roof of the chin in towards the chest, and the chest is rounded a lift. We've got those abdominal muscles working already. We're going to simply take the legs up towards the sky and just take the hands around the back of the calf muscles up towards the ankles. So take a little breath. Gently let go of your right leg. You take both hands onto your left, and your right leg comes down and out. We come back across. Tap the toes together. Turn the hands over and exhale down. We're trying to use the arms holding onto the legs as little as possible. It's a light touch, but it's the abs that are doing the work to hold us up. Now, if you do find that's a lot of strain on your neck, you can take one hand and just place that behind the back of your head to take a little bit of pressure off your neck. Pressing out through that raised foot, toes flat, hands cross over. And back up. And cross over again. Just got a few more seconds to play with. Last side. The knees coming towards the body. Let the head come down to the floor. Carefully. We'll let the feet come to the ground. Keep the knees together, but walk them out towards the edges of the mat. And then taking the arms out to the sides as well, like a crucifix. We're going to take a breath. And let the legs roll out towards the left side. So we roll onto the side edges of the feet, keeping them the same distance apart as they were. And the shoulders flat to the floor. We're going to try and ease the left leg all the way to the ground. Just the right leg down just a little bit. And then on the inhale, we come back up. And cross over to the opposite side. We ease them down gently. Press them against the ground or downwards, depending on where your legs actually arrive. Come back, you reset if you need to. Remember, we're trying to keep that wide scissoring of the legs apart motion. It's like you've got hinges underneath your feet. And with that little bit of pressure downwards at the very end. Take that to the last side. Coming back up. I'm going to slowly draw the knees in towards the body and roll completely over to my right side. Drawing the hands underneath and out to the side. I'll push away. Allow myself to spin up to the front of the mat. Feet to the back of the mat. And come up onto all fours. Now take a little breath from here. I'm going to take my left hand and line it more in line with my left knee. And then pivoting on my left knee, take the foot out to the side. So take the right foot back and drop the heel in. And allow myself to lift up into a baby side plank. I'm going to take the hand that's lifted and place that behind the back of my neck and my head. And then try and draw the elbow back. So I'm putting up the chest a little bit towards the sky. Just to find some interesting things happening. I'm pressing into the foot of the outstretched leg that's at the end of the mat. And then we'll roll back down gently. And we're going to do the same with the opposite side. So the right hand comes in a little bit. Right foot goes out. Send the leg back. Take a little breath. Drop the heel in. Whoop it up nicely. Put dusty floors here. Wipe my hands off before I put them around the back of my head. And then when you're in place, you're going to try and draw that chest up towards the sky, elbow back. You're looking towards the ceiling a little bit, pressing onto that rear foot. Probably realize that we're going to do something exciting with that. We'll come back down onto all fours. So this time, make sure your hands are underneath your shoulders. You take a little breath, send one leg back and then the other. So you want to be in a yogic plank, so the hips are nice and high. Feet are about a foot distance apart, so that's your own foot, not a measurement foot. You roll the feet over towards the left side. I'm going to stack one leg on top of the other, keeping the hips nice and high. You can take the hand around the back of the skull again. Take a little breath. I'm going to see if I can slide the top knee towards me and then curl down. Get the elbow to touch the knee, come back, take the leg back out. Draw the knee back in. Tap the knee. Going back. One more time. Tap. And then we'll come back to regular plank. I'm going to scissor the left leg up. Going to bend the knee, flip it over to the opposite side. So coming to the right on the tippy toes, pressing the hips and the heart skywards. Come back into a good old plank. You'll take a little breath. Put the feet to the right. Stack one foot on top of the other. Hand comes high. Then behind the head. Take a little breath. Draw the leg and knee in. Elbow and knee touch. We go back. Take a little breath. Okay to fall down. Turn it in. Keep it nice and slow. Number 3. And back. Put the hand high, back into the plank. Gonna scissor the right leg, bend the knee, flip it over. Open the chest, breath in, come back over, into your plank, knee to the floor. Take the feet out to the side, and then feet out towards the front of the mat. Again, we want plenty of room behind. We're going to play with half boat. So rolling the spine down. Again, just adjust your waist belt if it's in the way. You're going to let the hands come around the back of the head as you walk your feet in towards the bottom on the center line, squeezing the thighs together, with elbows down on the ground. Take a little breath. We'll come up onto the tiptoes, squeezing the thighs. Then we'll let the chin come in towards the chest. Take a breath. The next exhale, we're going to lift the chest towards the side as far as you can. Take another breath. Let the hands come forward. Extend the legs out, following the line of your thigh. Pointing out through the toes, squeezing the thighs. We lower the legs to roughly the line of our eyes. So you want to keep the tummy muscle drawn in really hard. You lower back into the floor. Spread the toes. Stretch out through the fingers. Keep them nice and active. So if you shake and tremble, I am. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it doesn't. Mostly it does. Last breath in. And then on the inhale of your next breath, we'll lift the legs up high. Squeeze in a little tighter. Take the hands around the back of the head. Roll the spine and the elbows down to the floor. Ooh, and slowly bend the knees. Bring the feet back down to the ground. Couple of breaths in. Take the next breath in. Use your exhale to come up onto the tiptoes, in towards the chest, and lift the chest forward and up. Put the hands forward, stretch them, lengthen the legs out, and chisel them back down. Back up. A little squeeze, a little deeper. Hands around the back of the head. We're back down to the floor. Ooh. Bend into the knees, so we're back down to the ground. Take a little breath and roll the legs over towards the right side, hands underneath again. We press away from the floor. As we come up, we spin the feet towards the back of the mat, and we're on to all fours again at the front of the mat. You take a breath, send your right and your left leg back into plank, and then we're into down dog. We'll sit with the right leg high. Bring the knee in towards the chest for a lunge. And then taking the back knee to the floor, far back as we can, and taking the toes. Just bring the hands alongside the body. Inhale up. For a crescent pose. And just pressing lightly into that back shin. And then coming back down, we'll move back into down dog. Let's do the opposite leg high. And bring the knee in and through. Lunging to the second side. Back knee down as far back as we can. Make sure the knee is over your ankle on the front leg. Keep the hands back. Inhale up. Exhaling. Again, just working a little into the skin, pressing down, drawing the tummy and towards the spine. We're not trying to extend the spine, we're trying to lift it up out of the pelvis. And then we'll bring the hands back down to the floor. Stepping back into our down dog. And take a little breath. And we'll scissor the right leg to the sky. And forwards into a three-legged plank. I'll put the glasses back on. And then back into down dog. Into the plank, three-legged. Back into the dog. Come forwards again, final time. And back. Let's scissor the leg down. Scissor the opposite leg high. We'll take three to this side. And back. Inhale forward. And back. Last time coming forward. And back. Scissoring the foot to the ground. Woo. Take a little breath, come into plank. Let the knees come down underneath the hips. We take the right foot back, swoop it out to the side 90 degrees. Foot flat to the floor, we walk the hands in. The right hand just sits on top of the pelvis. Left arm comes up, gate pose, we stretch up and out and over. And coming back again, down to the ground, swoop the leg back, we'll keep it easy. Cross over to the opposite side. Roll the fingers back in. Getting the hand on the top of the pelvis, so it's away from the actual hip joint. Bend out up and over. Come back down again. So taking the hands forward, flipping the leg back. Take a little breath, lift into down dog. And then just walk the toes slowly a few steps into the front of the mat. Just walking up into a forward bend and then bringing the hands under the hip and letting yourself lift. Bring the arms high on the inhale. Bring the hands through the heart. Into the hips and down to the floor we go. Taking a breath of bending the left foot back. Now we're going to bring the hands alongside the body, lift the body about halfway, and then extend the arms out in line. So we're going to press out through the fingertips, we'll keep the belly drawn in, we'll press out through the back heel, get the head in line to the arms. So power lunge. Generating some heat into the body, just in case you hadn't already managed that. Now you're going to let the fingertips come to the floor, drop the back heel in, and then cartwheel the arms through to warrior two. And bring the arms high, out towards the front of the mat and down to the floor we go. We'll step back into down dog, plank, half plank, and up dog. You know the system. Coming through, keep the shoulders back, elbows into the ribs. Try not to collapse down too low. The legs strong, lift the hips high. Into our down dog. We'll scissor the left leg to the sky. Bring the knee in and through. Take a little breath. And step it forwards into the fold. Hands onto the hip. Letting ourselves lift. We'll take the hand side again, second side. Hands into the heart. Exhaling down. Taking the breath, this time right leg back. Into the lunge. Bring the hands alongside the body, lift the chest. Arms come out. Try to square the hips to the front mat. And then hands to the floor, dropping the back heel in. Cartwheel to the warrior two again. So keep some weight into that back foot. Bring the arms high, out towards the front of the mat. We're going to go for down dog, then a plank, then a half plank, and then an up dog, and then an exhale to down dog. If you couldn't hear me. We'll take the right leg into the scissor, knee through into the lunge. Take a breath on the fingertips. We push off the back foot, holding in deep. Hands under the hips, and we'll lift up. Scooping the arms again on the inhale. Hands through the heart. Soften the knees, exhaling down. And taking the left and the right leg back into down dog. Now we want to have your feet distance apart. We're going to come into the down dog squat and side line. So we turn the feet over to the left, bend the knees, The heels come towards the hips, and the hips come towards the heels. Stretch up and out and over. Into a side plank, we come back. We swoop gently back into down dog. We set the feet over to the right. We squat back. Take our side plank, correcting out. Coming back. Take a breath. Roll the right knee into the chest. Look through. Roll the back heel down. Put the arms alongside the body to lift into warrior two. Breath in. Lift up hands high out to the front of the mat. And down. Dropping back into down dog. Plank, half plank and up dog. Need I say more? We'll scissor the left leg high. Knee through the center. Take a breath. Step forwards. Hands to the hips. We'll lift. We'll come up again. Inhale high. Hands to the heart. Exhaling down. Stepping back into our down dog. We'll take the feet over to the left. We'll squat back. Keep that left. Put right arm up and over. The side plank version. We'll come back. The down dog. We'll cross over. Squat back. Let ourselves lift up. Squat back. Hands to the floor into your down dog. We'll scissor the, draw the right knee in this time. Sorry, left knee in. I get myself mixed up sometimes. So dropping the right heel to the floor, hands alongside the body. Inhaling up, and cartwheel. Set hands high. Out towards the end of the mat and down. Stepping back into down dog. We're coming forwards into plank. Half plank and up dog. Rolling it back. And drawing the right knee to the chest, foot through. Take a little breath. We'll step into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips. And lift up. Move the hands high. Into your heart. Exhaling down. We're taking the left foot back into the lunge. Scooping the hands alongside the body. This time we're going to take the arms forward and up. And then we're going to take the arms out wide. Then more it comes down towards the floor as you drop your knee, hits the ground. Come back up. Just point your index fingers out and see if you can touch those above your head. So you have to sort of take it slowly so that you've got some chance of landing your fingertips together. We'll come up again. Little touch. Coming back. And a final lift. Let the hands come down. We'll lean forwards at the same time. Stepping into the fold again. Hands to the hips as we lift. Moving the arms up and out. And to the heart. Exhaling down. Right leg goes back. Hands alongside the body. We're scooping forward. Find our balance point. Let the hands come down. Pointy fingers. Little kiss on the floor with the knee. Coming back up. A little boot with the fingertips. Coming back down. Then hands forward and down. We'll take a little breath. Stepping through into the forward bend. Hands onto the hips, the left. Put the hands high on the inhale. Through the heart. Exhaling down. Taking the breath, we'll send the left foot back. Drop the heel in. Bring both hands onto the inside of the front leg, and pressing this right arm against the right leg, and the hips over towards the left side a little bit. Take the left hand towards the hip, from the chest to the long side of the mat. Extended side angle pose. Ease that hand down to the floor. Take the hands either side, spin the heel, step back into the forward bend. Letting ourselves lift. Hands come high. Hands go to heart. Exhaling down. Send the right leg back. Bring the hands in, drop the back heel down. Squeeze the hips over towards the right. Like that. Left hand and arm press into the leg, taking the right hand high. And coming back down again. Stepping for a final time forward. Hands onto the hips. Lift it up. We'll swoop to the sky. Final time. Take it into a little bit of a back bend. And into the heart. Hinging down to the floor. Step back. Down dog and then knees to the floor. Send the feet out to the side. And we're going to take the flat block finally, about halfway down the mat. And to take the knees high, roll the spine gently down to the floor. And then we're going to take the flat block and just put that between the thighs, so it's something to hold on to. Put the arms out wide, arms up. Now you're going to slowly draw your tummy muscles down, your lower back into the floor, come onto the tiptoes and draw your knees somewhere above your hips. And you want to try and have the shins parallel to the ground. So you've got a nice little right angle going on. Keeping a breath in, use the exhale. Shoulders flat on the floor, we let both legs roll out towards the left. We try and keep those nice angles that we spent a little bit of time working on. We take it as far as we can when we feel the shoulders start to lift or we run out of breath. We bring the legs back up on the inhale. And then we cross over to the opposite side. Coming down nice and slow. So we got a good chance of preserving the angle. Try not to press down through your arms too much to get yourself to lift up. See if you can get that movement to come from asking your torso to roll its way back up again. Every now and again, just check that you think the knees and legs have still got that nice 90-degree look that we had at the start. And we'll go to one side each last time. This is a long way of saying two more. And I'm going to come slowly back up. Going to let the feet come to the floor as I take hold of the block again. I want the feet to be a little wider than the hips, toes slightly in, heels out. Ideally, the heels underneath the knees. Take a little breath, press your elbows and your shoulders into the floor, and then start to curl your tailbone away. We're going to take that block on the flat edge and place it underneath the base of the pelvis, so it's not on your coccyx, it's not on your spine. We're going to make sure that the block's flat to the floor. And this is probably the longest rest we're going to have this evening, apart from our Savasana, which we'll be telling shortly. But we're going to be here for a couple of minutes, just letting the body rest and relax. We're trying to actually let go a little bit, so softening off, trusting the blocks underneath. Clearly, if you find that one block too high, then you've got an assortment of blocks and bricks. You can make your own stackers to the height that you require. I'm going to take a little breath here and start to press slowly down through the feet evenly. You can feel the thighs fire off in the hamstrings and eventually your buttocks too. Release just enough to slide the block out from underneath and put it to the side. And then we're letting the spine come down over about 3 or 4 breaths. Really uncurling very gently, coming down. We're holding the body up with the legs. They're having to work quite hard, not any harder than they have already this evening. And letting the spine unravel itself. Let the knees rock in towards each other. And the palms up. Now I'm going to move the block underneath my head, but that's purely, it makes it easier for me in Savasana to do the clock without having to strain my neck. So if you like that position for your neck, that's fine, but that's the reason I do it. I actually prefer to be without the block, but obviously when I'm teaching, that's a different thing. I'm going to start to use my toes to try to walk my feet slowly out to the corner edges of the mat, just sliding out, keeping the heels in contact. There's no too much of a sudden movement for the spine or the nervous system. Nice long exhales, just letting everything sink and melt. Eyes closed. Maybe licking the jaw a couple of times, or licking the lips to loosen your jaw. Begin to wiggle the fingers and toes, breathing a little deeper. And slowly, when you're ready, rolling through the wrist and the ankle. Yeah. Bring everything back connected. And you feel ready in your body to allow yourself to stretch in any way that feels good to you. And then as ever, if you haven't already, we'll slide one heel at a time along the ground towards us. Bring the knees in towards the body. Some gentle circles, or we're just swinging usually from side to side. We're trying our best not to work the muscles or stretch anything. Sometimes we have that desperate urge at this point of the class to squeeze something in because those muscles are already tired, and that squeezing action gives you temporary relief, but doesn't actually help in the long term. Finally, let the legs roll over towards the right side. When they're down on the ground, we'll turn the chest in, bring the hands underneath, use your exhale to press slightly away from the floor to come back up. And we're into a seated posture of choice, whatever that is. And hands into the heart. Take a breath in as we close the eyes. And on the exhale, slowly let the chin drop. Draw the belly to the spine. Follow that bow to the floor to seal your practice. As the breath comes back in, let the spine build, the head lift, the eyes can open. Namaste. Thank you for joining. Hope you enjoy for our very varied class this evening. See you on the mat again soon.